Welcome back to another session of Caribbean and Latin American News Now. Now, the title for discussion this afternoon, or today's title, is Trump's Hypocrisy Exposed, Pardoned for Honduras Drug Kingpin President while Attacking Venezuela. Donald Trump has pardoned further, or sorry, Donald Trump has pardoned former Honduras President Juan Orlando Hernández, convicted in a U.S. court for running a narco-state and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Yet the same Trump administration spent years attacking Venezuela, accusing Nicolás Maduro of drug trafficking without any conviction, evidence, or trial. This video exposes Washington's double standard in Latin America and how drug charges become political weapons to punish disobedient governments while protecting friendly regimes. Caribbean and Latin American News Now is going to explore that today, and we are going to be heading right into a very interesting story that is carried by the BBC. What was Honduras ex-president convicted of, and why has Trump pardoned him? Now, Juan Orlando Hernández, the former president of Honduras, has walked free after President Donald Trump pardoned him, a man once characterized as the key figure in a drug trafficking scheme that flooded America with over 400 tons of cocaine. Trump has said that Hernandez, who was sentenced to 45 years in prison by a U.S. court, is a victim of political prosecution and has been treated very harshly and unfairly. The pardon has surprised some experts given the seriousness of the crime and that the administration's promised crackdown on illegal drugs flowing into the U.S. Here's a look at Hernandez's political career and crimes and why Trump may have pardoned him. 400 tons of cocaine and a 1 million bribe from El Chapo. Hernandez first ran for president of Honduras, a country of 10 million people, in 2013 as the candidate for the Conservative National Party. He ran again in 2017 in an election marred by fraud, allegations, and violent protests. Throughout his two terms, he maintained a cordial relationship with the U.S. Former President Barack Obama called him one of the excellent partners on the migrant children crisis, and Trump backed him as the winner of the disputed 2017 vote. But Hernandez's fortunes began to unravel in 2019. U.S. federal prosecutors accused him of accepting a 1 million bribe from notorious drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman for his first presidential campaign in exchange for protecting narcotics routes through Honduras. The allegations surfaced in a separate case involving his brother Juan Antonio Tony Hernandez, who was arrested in Miami in 2018 on charges of smuggling cocaine into the United States. At the time, the then president denied any involvement in his brother's crimes. Tony Hernandez was convicted in 2019 and sentenced to life imprisonment. But the end of his brother's trial marked only the beginning of the ex-president's legal troubles. Okay? Hernandez's federal trial lasted 3 weeks in 2024. U.S. prosecutors argued that he was a central figure in more than 18-year-long drug trafficking scheme that funneled over 400 tons of cocaine into the U.S., equivalent to roughly 4.5 billion individual doses. The people of Honduras and the United States bore the consequences, said then Attorney General Merrick Garland. So we're seeing here that he is a convicted drug felon. And the United States, under President Donald Trump, who suggests that he is waging a war on drugs to clean up the region and the United States of all drug trafficking, yet has pardoned a convicted, what he calls narco-terrorist, who has ensured and who has trafficked over 400,000 tons of cocaine into the United States. Now, Hernandez's conviction was a Biden setup That's what Trump is suggesting. Trump announced the pardon on 28th of November in a Truth Social post, writing that according to many people that I greatly respect, Hernandez had been unfairly treated by prosecutors. In the same post rather, he also endorsed Tito Asfura for president of Honduras ahead of Sunday's election. Asfura ran under the same National Party ticket as Hernandez. I understand that Asfura has lost the election to Moncada, who has won it. The Progressive Party, that was headed by Xiomara Castro, who is the spouse wife of Manuel Zelaya, who was cooled by the United States in the 2009, in Honduras in 2009, under the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama. As of Tuesday, preliminary results show the election is too close to call, but it has been called, and it is now in the hands of Moncada. Okay, the party has won. The party of Zelaya has won. So we're seeing a lot of controversy here between what Trump is saying, what he's doing, right? His actions are inconsistent with his verbiage. And we have to take a look at these things and realize that this war on drugs is actually very phony. There's nothing real about it. In fact, I would suggest, and I've been doing this for years, that when they say they're launching a war on something, it's a war on you, and it always compounds the problem rather than solving it. So we can see as Washington is waging a war, a full-scale war on drugs, it's a war on us. It's a war on our privileges, on our rights as democratic nations, as democratic societies, as a people-loving society, right? That is what Trump is actually doing right now. And it's for us to see and to look carefully and to examine critically that this is nothing that is going to take us anywhere in terms of, making us a freer people and cleaning up the region of drug trafficking, which is causing, deleterious effects and very serious problems in the region, of which crime and violence is only one factor. Okay, so we have to now look carefully at what is happening. And I think that if we study the history of Latin America, particularly Honduras, we'll see where the United States has had its hands on Honduras for a long time. And the exploitation of the people by Washington, and Washington always turn a blind eye. Whenever they're going after a drug lord, if the drug lord is doing what Washington wants them to do, they turn a blind eye. If the drug lord or kingpin is doing something that the United States is not desirous that they do, then is when they begin to apprehend them and they want to convict them and sentence them to prison. So obviously, it might be too that, I'm not sure, if Juan Orlando Hernández had a falling out with the United States, it's possible. And that is why Biden sent for him and convicted him. Because other than that, most of the times, Washington turns a blind eye on drug trafficking and the kingpins therein. Because after all, who is really the top drug trafficker in the world? Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the video so that they can be shared with as many people on the platform. See you in another one. Ciao.